going to be a little bit of a different show tonight. We have multiple service members dead in Iraq. The number continues to change all the time. And before we get into the phone call from the translator over there describing the situation on the ground, before we get into Major General Schloesser, who's going to describe some things for us, I just have to completely level with you here. I am so completely full of hatred at this moment. I'm having a difficult time seeing straight. We have not done right by our warriors in this country. We haven't done right by them in a long time. And I want you to pray tonight. I want you to say a prayer tonight for the family members who are possibly, as we speak, getting the worst phone call anybody could ever imagine. I mean, and everyone knows what, or at least has thought about what that would be like, right? If you have a child, that phone call. If you have a father, that phone call. There is a mother out there right now. She's getting that phone call. There's a wife getting that phone call. There's a little son, a little daughter getting that phone call, finding out dad isn't coming home again. Keep these people in your prayers. We had a translator over there. He did walk through it. He did a call in to Fox News. And look, he describes it pretty well.
There was an explosion that happened inside the crowd. A lot of people got hurt. And I got a baby girl that she was 5 years old. She died right in my hand. So I tried to help her. She was not my baby girl. She was somebody else's girl. And I saw her on the ground. I picked her up and I took her to the hospital. But she died.
It's not something you forget. It's awful. It's an evil planet. And right now we are going to bring in Major General Jeffrey Schloesser, U.S. Army retired, former Commanding General of the 101st Airborne Division, speaking of warriors, and Regional Command East. He's also the author of the book Marathon War. General, thank you for joining me today. Let's just get it out of the way right off the bat. I believe everyone seems to be saying this is ISIS. I don't know if we can confirm that yet. Let's assume for the fact it is ISIS. Would you please do us the honor of separating out ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Taliban, because they are actually separate groups?
Yeah, sure will, Jesse. And again, my heart goes out, just as you said, to the families of the 4 fallen U.S. Marines. Okay, so let's start at the top. Taliban is the group that came in and basically reconquered this country. Their interest is they're an Islamic radical group that they ran the country for a period of time before 9/11. Their interest is internal to Afghanistan. Their interest right now is to demonstrate stability and get the United States and NATO out. Then you've got Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is linked to the Taliban, always has been. They received safe haven prior to 9/11. The reason why we got rid of the Taliban was because when we captured and killed Al-Qaeda, the Taliban basically were unrepentant, and we're going to invite them back in again. Al-Qaeda is a transnational terrorist group that aims to bring down U.S. society and all of our allies. They hate us. Then on the other side of this coin, but it's the same type of coin, is another Islamic radical group called the ISIL, Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. And it has groups all around the world. One group is called Khorasan, and it's been stationed inside Pakistan and Afghanistan for several years, and has conducted the most horrific terrorist attacks against predominantly Afghan civilians over the last several years. You may have heard about a girls' school where they basically had a vehicle bomb outside that killed 85 girls. They also went into a maternity hospital, the maternity ward of a hospital of a Hazara, that's an ethnic group in Afghanistan, right outside of Kabul, and they shot dead 16 mothers and a whole variety of newborn babies. They also hate America.
General, okay, the ISIS-Al-Qaeda rift, would you please, because a lot of people don't know this stuff, would you please explain the rift there and how one sprouted from the other and why?
Yeah, so, I mean, ISIS actually got its undercurrents in a war that both of us know well, Jesse, and it was in Iraq. And Zarqawi was one of the predominant leaders of this breakaway group. Initially, they spent 10 years as a part of Al-Qaeda. About 2014, they determined that Al-Qaeda was not radical enough, was not was not following the radical theology that they believed in, and also was not being brutal enough against Americans and NATO allies and others out there, as well as non-believing civilians, which is everybody, including Muslims that don't align to their Islamic theology. So since 2014, they've been broken away from Al-Qaeda, have been their own group. They took over the large part of basically southeastern of Syria, and then invaded northern Iraq, which caused us to have to go back in and retake that entire area with some very brutal fighting, including in a city of 2 million that I know very well, Mosul, which was the headquarters of my division when we were there in 2003 and 2004 in Iraq.
Could you please explain, as best you can, why are they in Kabul? Why haven't, for people who don't understand, because I've gotten a lot of emails like this today, if the Taliban and Al-Qaeda are against ISIS, why are they allowing them in Kabul? Why? Why are they there?
Yeah, so really the Taliban cannot control Islamic State. Otherwise, if they did, if they could, they would. When we swept them up, when we had more troops there, basically they were going into the prisons, and they were going into prisons both ran by the Afghans as well as by the United States, and finally transferred to them. Islamic State was in there with Al-Qaeda as well as Taliban. They clearly hated each other. There were some murders inside the jails, but Islamic State had penetrated already into Afghanistan and had definitely been part of the Taliban that still exists in Pakistan, and they are against the Pakistani government. So they were inside the fabric of the society in Afghanistan. We released untold numbers, not we, but the Taliban did, when they opened up the jails. One of the first actions they did was they took the leader of Islamic State, took him outside, did a face-to-face, yeah, you're the guy, and shot him dead right on the spot. That was supposed to be a demonstration, I think, to the Islamic State. All it did was piss them off. And you're going to see, even after we leave, after this horrific withdrawal, you're going to see this ongoing inside the country. I don't know if it's going to be large enough to be like a civil war, but it's going to definitely be a war of one terrorist group, but really essentially against a couple others.
If you were in charge, General, where would you go from here? We still have an airport. We obviously can't secure and keep our people safe. We can't get our civilians to the airport because of the glut out in front of the airport. How do we unpack this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gets all the way down to what is our priority. If our priority is going to be to do what we said, which was to get U.S. citizens out of the country and give them every chance to get out of the country, and as many Afghan translators, interpreters, and their families out that are on these SIV visas, then we're going to end up having to plus up our troops and build out the security perimeter, just as you and I would know, Jesse. And remember, by the way, I came in the Army as a private first class. So that would be option A. There is a whole bunch of things in between, but the last option would be, okay, we're going to pack up and we're going to leave. The troops are going to leave in a hasty manner, and we're just going to get out of there, and it's going to be on our own. People are going to be on their own. I hope that that's not what happens. I'm in contact with a large number of people who have not been able to get to the airport yet, and yet are deserving to come to America. So somewhere in between those two things, a reinforcement, for a limited period of time to ensure that we have the security at that airfield out for maybe several miles, or basically leaving.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me. Thanks.